Rich mentality versus poor mentality. Robert Kiyosaki interview part 2. Let me tell you something. When I came back from the Vietnam War in 1973, the first thing my rich father, my rich cousins said to me was, go to school to learn about investing in real estate. But he wasn't really talking about real estate. He was talking about how to handle debt and taxes. It's because loans and taxes make the rich much richer and the poor and middle class much poorer. So all those lawyers and doctors are losing money and they don't know the reason why. They probably get a lot of money, but they get a lot of taxes taken away too. My doctor shouted at me happily, "You know, I finally made over $1 million." I replied, "Yes, that's great, but how much tax do you pay?" He told me $750,000. In the end, his net was about $450,000. Not bad, but when I earn $1 million, I keep that million because I don't do it for a salary. I mean, if you work for any salary, you're required to pay taxes. That is why the rich never work for any salary. What we do instead is generate business as entrepreneurs. I, for example, acquire real estate and do not invest in the stock market. The reason is that as an entrepreneur, I have full control over all income, how much money I earn and pay taxes. And as I am an entrepreneur, as an investor in real estate, I do not pay for taxes. So every time I make, let's say, $1 million, I immediately invest it in real estate. And I have a 4-to-1 payout. So I put $1 million in a real estate and I get $4 million borrowed from the bank. At this point, I love the bank, but it has to be said. Banks are making almost everybody poorer. That is why I say that when they print money, it is very good for me, but very bad for the wage earners, because the savings are devalued and the wage earners get less purchasing power. On the other hand, investors get richer. Debts and taxes make the rich richer and the poor and middle classes poorer. It is worth telling now about obsolete ideas. When we have outdated ideas, we will get outdated results. This is what is happening to most people. The idea of going to school, getting a job, working hard, saving money, getting out of debt, buying your house because it is an asset, and investing long-term in the stock market is outdated. The world has completely changed. The world changed in 1971 when President Nixon took us off the gold standard and money became debt. I'm not saying that we don't go to school, that we don't have an education system. I mean, education was much more important before. It is just that now it is obsolete. It is Moore's law that says that information doubles every 2 years. In other words, everything becomes obsolete every 24 months. And this is a recent phenomenon. So when you get out of school, you're already obsolete, and that is why I'm the old guy. I meet friends who went to Harvard, and they say, "I went to Harvard." I tell them yes, and that was how long? 50 years ago? Today, banks charge you interest for saving money. That is, banks don't want any of your money because they have already printed too much of it. That's why there are bubbles in stocks and real estate and all that. People get rid of their cash. As I said here, savers are losers and cash is pure junk. And yet people say, "I want a good paying job." Well, that's an outdated, obsolete idea. Getting out of debt is an outdated idea. Nobody ever teaches you about taxes and how to get into debt right, about how to use debt to become rich.